and welcome to another ARC review. And this time it is The Violin by Odell Howe. I think in one of my other videos I said it was Odette, it's Odell. But this is an ARC read, a proper ARC read, because I'm not late with this one. Although it did come out in January. But I didn't get the ARC until last week. Because I went browsing on Book Sirens. And however many spots the author puts up, they can take their book down or leave it up. The cover intrigued me because look at this thing. I wanted some gothic Victorian horror, and this cover intrigued me something terrible. It's only red and black, but it does it. So let's see what the blurb is all about and why it got me hooked. In 1871, Elise Knight made a deal to craft a powerful violin in exchange for her fiancé's resurrection. When Elise's fiancé dies, she would do anything to get him back, even if that means striking a sinister bargain with Cassius McAlmont, an exotic collector whose oddity exhibit is downright astonishing. After seeing Cassius's otherworldly flute work its magic, Elise begs her father for an apprenticeship, eager to make the seemingly simple sacrifice required to bring her beloved back from the grave and give Cassius a violin of her own making. But before she can finish, Elise's father falls deathly ill. Even Cassius's elixirs can't restore his health for long, and her father's dying wish may very well be Elise's undoing. Now she faces a grim choice: obey her father and let him pass in peace, or trust the man who promises her power over the grave. The Violin is a spine-chilling gothic horror revolving around the macabre magic of music. With paranormal powers, atmospheric horror and chilling twists, it will leave you up well into the witching hour. Lose yourself in the supernatural suspense and eerie ambience of this dark Victorian world. So yeah, that was what got me hooked, and I couldn't put this down. I started reading it and I read it in a day. I couldn't put it down. It's 280 pages, so it's not that long. It took me about 3 or 4 hours just to sit down and read it. Because this is a gothic horror in every sense of the genre. It deals masterfully with the sense of grief and loss and the lengths that someone will go to get back what was lost, especially when it is lost prematurely. Elise's story is so relatable that the deal she ends up making with Cassius and all the consequences of making that deal, that although the consequences are harsh, you can kind of understand it all. The lure of what Cassius offers her is to have the man that she has loved. They grew up together. They loved each other. They were each other's first kiss. They were planning to get married. And it was a very passionate, earthy love that they had. And to bring him back from the dead, that's not a spoiler, by the way, it happens in the first few pages. To bring William back from the dead is such a strong temptation for Elise, especially when she just comes out of weeks of grieving. She's not been able to eat. She's barely been existing. And then she gets this chance to bring him back from the dead and to live the life that they had lost. Is one hell of a, not just a temptation, but she can imagine, she knows she is dreaming about him every night. Her subconscious is battling her to not forget him, and she can't forget him, and that's one of the reasons why she ends up making this deal. Elise's crafting of the titular violin, the whole reason for this deal, and all the turmoil, all the emotion, all the tragedies she faces in the few weeks that it's going to take to craft this thing, all pours out of her and goes into what she's making. As with anything that we create, we put a little bit of ourselves in that too. And I'm talking, videos, I'm here, but it also has my time, my effort, my hope, my fear, my everything, and that is just in the crafting of a video to go on the internet. Never mind the crafting of a beautiful musical instrument to bring back the only man she's ever loved from the dead because of his untimely death before their wedding. And what it takes to craft the violin is exceptionally well written. So well written, you are there sort of next to her in the workshop. You feel like you're in that environment watching her do this, and you are both with her because you want this thing to be finished, because you want to know what it does and whether it can do the deal that it was meant for, or whether it is all in her head and Cassius turns out to be a charlatan, which is a possibility. So you're with her and you're wishing that she would hurry up and finish it, but you know that it takes time, and you also want to grab her and say, don't finish this thing, because nothing good is going to come of finishing this thing and what you're doing. The consequences of when she's doing this is just building up on the horizon like storm clouds ready to burst. And you're there, and the tension that is being created gets to be a palpable thing. So if it wasn't easy to see, I loved this book. It got 5 stars, and most of that is the writing. The in-depth emotions of Elise. She is our only point of view in the third person, but the book doesn't suffer for only having one point of view. In fact, all the emotions that Elise is feeling inside are what drives this. And if we weren't party to that, we wouldn't feel the same as we do reading it. There's her love for William and her unbreakable grief that just came out of nowhere. Then you have her love for her father, because he is the only parent she has ever had. Her mother died at her birth. It has only been the two of them, and she has grown up with this, and the fear of not having him is something that you can practically reach into the pages and touch and feel. Now the plot does sometimes move along slowly, but that is kind of the point, because it builds up the reader's frustration, because your frustration is building along with Elise's frustration that the violin is taking weeks to complete, and she is desperate for it to be ready now, but she knows that if it's ready now, it won't be powerful enough to get William from the grave in one piece, or as she imagines him to be. And the power of this thing that she's creating is just building, and you can feel it in the air. You know, like people can sometimes smell thunderstorms before they even start? That's kind of what you get with this book. You can see something bad coming a mile away, but you don't know what it is, and you don't know how it will happen, and you don't know what kind of form this thing is going to take, if it works at all. Now, it being the title of the book, music plays a very large part in this. Now, although there isn't much music like event-wise, there are a couple, and they are all significant. Strongly significant at that. But the weight of and the way that music is used is so interwoven throughout all this book. I mean, the violin is obvious. It's going to be this powerful musical instrument. But there is also the resurrectionist's flute, the thing that Cassius has in his collection, and the thing with which he tempts Elise at the beginning. But music is such a soul-calling creation. It can draw you in and completely hold you in awe, and that's what the writing of this manages to get across. Because before there was an online world, before there was television, centuries before that, there was music. Music to invigorate, music to fall in love to, music to march to war to, and music to mourn. Music always calls forth strong emotion. Even if you're just dancing in the kitchen to it, you are happy. That music makes you happy. music that you sing along to in the shower. You are happy and having fun and enjoying yourself. And music can also be the thing that makes you cry, depending on how you feel at the time and what it is that you're listening to. And music calls forth such strong emotions, even if you don't realise it, your subconscious does. And that is what this book gets across so damn well. And after all of this building up, all of this wonderfulness that I'm spouting, does it make the mistake of falling down at the end, like so many books do? Absolutely not. The ending is... The only word I can use to describe the ending of this is traumatizing. I at no point thought it was going to go the way it went, and I was not prepared for how much it committed to go the way it went. I do wish it had spent more time on that, what goes on. But I understand why it didn't. And it is no worse for not really going into depth with it. Because although you're locked in Elise's head, and at that point it is traumatizing. You are being traumatized along with her. It is magnificently done. And I loved every minute. I loved every minute of this, so much so that I finished it on my Kindle, which is where all my arcs are, and I scooted on over and I bought it. So I will be getting a physical copy of that in the next week or so. So go me, because I can't wait. Want to share it. I am going to share it, and I think everybody should read this. Especially if you love gothic horror. It is fantastic.
Castles glimmer on the hill, echoes of a life fulfilled. With the dawn, new hope is born. In this heart no longer torn. Sip the wine, embrace the night. Dark stars journey shining bright. Through the trials, through the pain, love and light shall still remain.